Started as a Rockford company specializing in fasteners, has grown into one of the largest automotive suppliers in the Midwest for vehicles worldwide. WIFR News reporter Anthony Ferretti tells us what makes Specialty Screw so special in this week's Shaped in the Stateline.
Just about every car on the road today has fasteners from Specialty Screw.
Specialty Screw started in 1953 by 4 tradesmen in the cold heading industry, a process used to shape a metal piece into its own part without heating it up.
Being able to supply fasteners, I think, is critical. I don't think is recognized as much as it should be. They're key elements in all of the things that we do.
The company believes the cold forming process offers several advantages compared to other methods, including minimal material waste and enhanced product strength.
You're actually making something that has value. When you're making things that contribute to automobiles, the aerospace industry, very significant.
Specialty Screw has been a part of owner Russ Johansson's life since his dad bought the company decades ago. The business is not only family run, but other employees get their own family involved.
My current wife's grandpa worked here.
My son's uncle worked here.
Michael Curtis came to the company from Elko Textron, which closed, leaving many without a job.
Rockford manufacturing isn't what it used to be, but it still does have a decent footprint in the area. A lot of the tech prep programs that were prevalent when I was in school are no longer available to the kids.
We have a lot of skill that's been in the fastening department, and I hear that other states are looking for that.
For Shaped in the Stateline, I'm Anthony Ferretti.
The company's president says they are learning to incorporate artificial intelligence by using its computer data and accurate information to make informed decisions.